Good evening. How everyone doing today? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Summer J. I'm here to give you a word on today. Unshakable confidence. Unshakable confidence. You have to have unshakable confidence to do what you is not qualified for, but believe in yourself that you can do it. Because see, dealing with God will use people that's not qualified. But they complete their mission. Look at Moses. Look at Moses and a lot of more. We're gonna talk about who was not qualified, but God used them to get something done. Now, what you rely on to give you confidence? So now David. Now we're talking about David. David for Psalm 71. But you have been my hope, my servants, Lord, my confidence. Now, since my youth, from birth, I have relied on you. Now, God known David when he was a boy. So he had God in his life ever since he was a child. And so God often chose people who felt unqualified. You notice every time God chose someone, if they're not qualified, they might be shy or they might have a weak faith. They might have something going on that they may feel unqualified for the job. You know, so so we're gonna look at Abraham. Abraham, the father of the nation, and his children is gonna be a nation. Now he didn't see this at the beginning. Because God said you're gonna be all these things, you're gonna be a father of the nation, you know, and your children, and at this time God telling him all this, said he ain't having the children. So God, how you talking about my children gonna be a nation? His children was. Everything came to pass. His children was a nation. That was Jacob's children was the Israelite. And so we're gonna talk about Moses. Moses stuttered. He tried to get out of many times. And David. David had so much confidence. He wasn't trying to get out his, but he showed the world that he put his unshakable confidence towards God. You know, he had to have confidence to go out there and embrace up to that giant. And so Esther and Mary, all felt unqualified for the job. But if God, if God can use these people, what he can do with us, what he can do with me and others, God equipped us. He was, just like he had told Moses, don't worry about that, I put the words in your mouth. He still was fighting. He still was trying to get out of it. And so Abraham birthed a nation. Isaac was a promised child. Isaac was the one birthed Jacob, and Jacob's children was the Israelite. And see, Abraham didn't know he was going to be doing all this stuff because he didn't have no children at the time when God was telling him all this stuff. And see, stuttering speaker Moses, Moses stuttered. He said, how am I going to brace up to Pharaoh? Pharaoh not going to listen to what I'm saying, and I'm stuttering, can't get the words out, and so, the shepherd boy David, he had to brace up, into that with that giant, and then God said, I'm going to make you a king over Israel, and so this Jewish girl, Esther. She had to rescue her people, and then look at the teenager, Mary. She was just a teenager, you know, and she had to bear a son of God, so God had used these people, encourage you and renew your confidence in God's ability, to do it. Now Moses thought he couldn't do it. God worked through Moses to give him courage, and he still was scared. He said, so that's how his brother Aaron had to go along, and so he stepped out on unshakable confidence because he did a good job. And also at the end, that when he took credit for himself and not give God glory. But other than that, he did a good job. He depended upon the service of the Lord in a time of need. I knew that every breath I take occurred because God had given it. Now throughout my lifetime, I have been dependent on God. This is David talking. David was talking. All through his life, he depended on God. And so when we feel weak, lack of confidence, we are most open to the rely on God. God's strength in the face of our limited ability. I can do all this through Him who gives us strength. God could give us strength to do anything. And if we put our faith and confidence in God, we can do it. Remember, David was a boy when he was no stranger to danger. He was a shepherd boy in his father's field, killing sheep with his bare hands. So when he had to go out and fight this big giant, he went out with unshakable confidence. Because Saul like, you don't need all these weapons. He took all them weapons off of him. He took all them weapons off of him. He said, I don't need that because I'm going out of unshakable confidence, in God, in the name of the Lord. He gonna bring this giant down. And he believed so much in God, and that giant did come down because God had fight his battle in that field. God had knocked that giant down. And so some of us, some of you know that you cannot handle, but you put your confidence in God. A lot of things that we do, we know we can't do it, but we put our confidence in God and we try to get it done. And he beat that giant. So Jesus had said, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things is impossible. All things are possible. God can do the impossible things. When we can't do it, God can do it. No matter how hard it is, God can do the possible. Nothing is too hard for the Lord. The seven of the Lord, you have made heaven and earth. By great power and outstretched arm, nothing is too hard for God. It might be too hard for us, but it's not too hard for God. Now, my grace, God's grace, is significant for you. For my power is made perfect in weakness. So when we weak, God's power works better when we weak, and He make us strong. So therefore, I will burst out more gladly, my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. Now Christ delight in weakness, hardship, persecution, difficulty. For when I am weak, I am strong. And sometimes we can be so weak, and we don't know, and we can just go on each day. But I've been weak all the time, and then all of a sudden I got strength. I be thinking because I drank the milk or something. That be God will give you strength. He'll give you enough strength to keep going. So Abraham had born a son, a promised child, and that promised child had born Jacob, was his kids was the nation, gonna be the Israelite, and so God chose all of us, something that you are not qualified for, because God will find somebody to get the job done. He ain't gonna pick Hollywood. He ain't gonna pick the one that know it all. God gonna pick somebody that's unqualified, because God gonna get His glory off of you. God said, okay, I pick somebody that's not qualified for this job, but I'm gonna equip her, to get the job done. And when she get it done, that's when I get my glory off of her. Because that's somebody that know what she was doing, and God had to equip us on doing what He had to do. And so he find us that's unqualified, but you have to believe in yourself that you can't do it. With God, you can't do it. You know, first you have to believe in yourself. Believe in yourself that you can do it with God. Now Moses had stand up to Pharaoh when he said he couldn't do it. He stood up to Pharaoh and he lead 2 million, Israelite. And so Esther, she applied for a beauty queen. And she really thought she sat on that land to be a beauty queen. She was sat on that land on purpose, because she was called to rescue her people. And Mary, just a teenager working in the field, not knowing she was gonna have a child that was gonna be Jesus Christ, and she did not feel like she was qualified. To the angel had to tell her, think about your cousin, your cousin Elizabeth. Go see her. She in old age and God giving her a child. She had to have signs because she didn't believe that she really gonna deliver Jesus Christ, the child of God. She will have a baby soon, and by being engaged, not only to carry a baby, but for God born Jesus Christ. Now all thought that was unqualified, but the job got done. They had to step out on unshakable faith. To have to believe in themselves, to have to believe in God that they can do it. And once they did that, they stepped out on unshakable confidence. If you find yourself in a new situation that I am now, I rely on God and not my own understanding. And see, that's what David did. He went out there on his own understanding, his own strength. He went out there having unshakable confidence of God, that he can go out there and be that God could, gonna be that giant for him. But God bigger than any situation. Believe in God and place your unshakable confidence in him. So we have to give, he give you a job being unqualified, but go out and have unshakable confidence. Because we see all the ones that he, had chose. Moses was studying. He said, I need you to go tell Pharaoh, he let my people go. He said, I'm going to do that. I'm stuttering. I can't stand up to Pharaoh, and he did it. He did it. He lead 200 million people of Israelite out Egypt, heading on to the promised land. And then Esther thought she was going to be a beauty queen, but she saved her people. And David beat that giant because he went out there with unshakable confidence. So we had these people, didn't marry. She was a teenager, not knowing. She had to get a sign. She didn't believe that she about to born a God child into this world. And so all these people, God picked people, unrecognized, that to the world, because he likes somebody like me and all these, people that chosen, sometimes the world don't see them. They're unknowable to the people in the world. And that's the ones God would chose. The black sheep of the family, or the black sheep of the nation. And God will use these people to get his glory. So that's all I have for you today. Have unshakable confidence. Because a lot of times God gonna give us, and he give us big jobs. Knowing we stutter, knowing we shy, knowing we don't have too much good words to say. He big job because God think big. He ain't gonna give you no small jobs. He gonna give you big job because he's a big God. And so that's all I have for you today. Y'all have a nice day, and I'll see y'all on the next video.